Just moving on to the other, obviously, Sam, Dublin and Monaghan on that same day.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dublin coming in now. The two teams coming in with momentum here. Obviously, outside looking in, everyone would be saying Dublin are gonna coast this, pulling up with probably 20 minutes to go. Am I unfair in saying that?
Look, I was at the Down. We had a Tailteann Cup breakfast there last Friday in the Canal Court, and 600 at it. And our school, St. Joseph's Newry, took a table at it, and principal rang me and asked me to go down, and one of the guest speakers was Banty and
Right.
and Conleth Gilligan. And
Right.
Banty, himself, full of bravado, full of crack, full of slagging, borderline at times, of course. But one of the things he did say was, that Monaghan don't fear Dublin, and I have absolutely I don't think anyone would question that. I don't think anyone would question that. And he talked about his time, and he talked about, they've never beaten us in the league, and they've never done this, they've never done that. But I'm not being disrespectful to Monaghan here in any capacity whatsoever, and I just can't see a way how they're going to win this game. I really can't. I honestly cannot see a way how they're going to win this game. Even from today, when I looked at the stats today, how much more processed football based Dublin are this year. Their productivity levels are up to sort of something like 0.57. They were down to 0.34 last year, and what that means is for every attack that Dublin produce, they get 0.57 of a score. So their efficiency in front of goal has improved so dramatically. Now, I do think a large part of that is the fact that they were playing lesser opposition in Division 2. They were playing, they were obviously playing, Limerick, Clare, Meath, they were playing
Kildare.
a level below where Dublin were at for the last number of years. So I think that had an impact into the statistics, right? But ultimately as well, one of the more sort of starting statistics was the level of possession that they have. So their possession bouts are longer, and then at the end of those possession bouts, they're obviously getting a shot away or a score. Defensively, they've got a wee bit more steeliness about them as well. They're not conceding as many goals. They came through a Division 2 league final against Derry this year as well quite comfortably. I think they then would have went through quite a high intensity training block, because their performances after that end were very, very up and down. I think this Monaghan team are maxing out on what they have. They are literally maxing out. And I just feel that Dublin just have that bit more coming off the bench. The last day, obviously, Cormac Costello, Paul Mannion, Dean Rock, Owen Merchant, these were all players that were named on the bench. Now, they didn't, some of them obviously started. Merchant started in place of Darren Newcombe. Cormac Costello started as well. And you're just looking at them: Kieran Kilkenny, Bulger, Fenton, Howard, Scully, Scal, Conn. Conn's still their most efficient forward. He's been involved in 115 of the scores they've got throughout the championship. I just don't see how Monaghan are going to win this game. And I would love Monaghan to win this game, and I mean that. I think Monaghan people are good, honest. They're looking to the highest held people. They're maximising their resources. Don't get me wrong, they still have some brilliant footballers, but I don't know what you think. I just can't see a way or how they're going to win this game. I don't know.
I've just seen this movie too many times, Steve, to be honest with you, with Dublin and the style of Monaghan play. I think Dublin, I'm looking at the middle third battle, possession-wise, I think Dublin will own the ball. I think Monaghan's full forward line, the forward line in general, will give Dublin problems, but the problem is they won't get enough ball. As you said there, the more process-based in terms of their score ratio has gone up this year with longer stints of possession. I think they'll starve Monaghan off possession. I'm thinking, obviously, look at depends. Monaghan really have to go for it here in terms of definitely going up in the Cluxton's kick out, really aggressive, definitely on frees, because as we both know, the score ratio for them for any team goes up when they win that opposition kick out. I just personally look at, as you said there, I think Monaghan maxed their season out here. This is no disrespect, but obviously Vinnie Corey's first year, they're at the beginning of their journey. Dublin, obviously, with Jesse Farr bringing back Cluxton this year, bringing back McCaffrey, bringing back Mannion. This tells me, especially the Cluxton move, that was kind of Pat Gilroy's kind of fingerprints all over that, that they wanted to squeeze one more All-Ireland out of this team here. So look, I just I have question marks over the Dublin backline. I don't think. But I just don't think. Look, you saw with Mayo when they got quick transition ball into the full forward line, they did cause the Dublin rearguard some issues here. But I just middle third, Stevie. I just can't see it. Look, Dublin's middle third is very strong there, and as you said there, with the boys coming on, it doesn't really matter who starts. They still have 4 or 5 really good lads. If it's Mannion, Kilkenny, McCaffrey, Odell, Keane Murphy's a decent player, like Paddy Small, like they kind of rotate in and out who starts and who comes on. But you know, the boys coming on now, as we said a few years ago, it's the same standard. And you're looking, we'll say Paddy Small starts. He's a very good player. Paul Mannion comes on for him, and you're the quarterback. If you're Rhino 2 looking at this, you're thinking, fuck, I have another 20 minutes of this shite going on here. Like, so it's just, I just can't. I think Dublin will frustrate them. I just, you know, if I was Monaghan, I fucking, it's better losing by. I think if they play the same way as they play, I think they'll lose by 10 points. I think it'd be death by 1,000 cuts here. I think Dublin will just squeeze the life out of them, and the last 20 minutes, you won't even have to watch the game. I know that's probably disrespectful here, but I just
I obviously hope you're wrong, but I do see a very similar pattern. Like I think, look, obviously there'll be a couple of nice engagements. Like, you know, John Small got on to Michael Bannahan. Michael Bannahan had a big influence for Monaghan this year. I think he's a brilliant footballer. I think he's going to have a fantastic future. You know, centre half.
The Monaghan forward line, Stevie, is fucking
decent. Listen, unquestionably, like, and I think, you know, obviously Carl O'Connell and McCarthy wing back obviously will have to be in the front foot. You know, they'll hopefully get on a lot of ball. You know, I just feel there's part of me feels that, you know, Vinnie Corey has done an unbelievable job. I think Vinnie Corey's been the manager of the year, you know, by a million miles, from the point of view being that he came in to a group of players who were being written off. You know, the team was in transition. They'd lost a couple of key men. You know, he's obviously managed the likes of Conor McManus very well. You know, the older players, Darren Hughes, they've managed them very, very well. He's brought them in and integrated them into games and stuff like that. But, you know, and obviously tapered and tailored, hopefully, you know, becoming at this time of the year. Stayed in Division 1, a very competitive Division 1. You know, because I think the fact that Roscommon got off to a flyer put a spanner in the works in Division 1, because all of a sudden then everyone was looking over their shoulder because they had Roscommon nearly relegated along with Donegal before a ball was kicked. So it was a very, very competitive league. The only blip probably on their season was the defeat against Donegal in Omagh. They were probably disappointed to lose that game. You know, that was probably a false dawn for Donegal, like, and a disappointing result for Monaghan. But unquestionably, for me, and you know, Vinny's done a brilliant job. But I just think the emotion of beating Armagh, how they beat them, very, very hard just to come back down and like, right, let's go again here now. We're facing the Dubs, you know. But the only thing is, if there is a team in the bloody country who love being written off, who love to dig in, and who love to just fight in the trenches, it will be Monaghan. You know, they are the old dog for the hard road, and you'd be under no illusions if they're still in the game with 10 minutes to go, as you said. You know, you think they probably won't be. If they are still in this game with 10-15 minutes to go, don't rule out Dublin starting to do some fucking, as I would say, mad fuck things, because they do have that in them still. You know, there is still that element of madness about Dublin at times. They're much more controlled in what they were last year, but they're definitely nowhere near as controlled as they were under Jim Gavin. You know, but I do think that the return of Stephen Clinton, the addition of Pat Gilroy, I think it's improved the trust levels within the squad, and I think the older players like James McCarthy, you know, even you could even argue the likes of Fenton, Kilkenny, I'd say Dean Rock, these guys have probably, you know, then just sort of stepped up a level, and all of a sudden the trust has grown probably in Desi and the group. Then, you know,
you've added 3 All-Stars since last year, Stevie. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And four if you include Condon started against Kerry that day. That's 4 All-Stars there you've added to this team this year, this squad of players, the 20 coming in and out of the team, like, and Kerry just edged them out, like, and Dublin were not playing well that well, as you said. They're sloppy with the ball last year. They didn't look the Dublin of old, we'll say. But like, just one question here for you: Would if you're a manager, Conor McManus, would you start him or leave him off? If we say
he has to play. has to play. Like there's no doubt about it. He has to play. You know, as you say, you can't afford to go 7-8, 9-3 down, or 9-2 down, or 8-2 down, and then bring him in. And like you can't. You have to stay in this game for as long as you possibly can. And it's about wrapping him up and cotton wool. Get through this game. If they do get through this game, you know, ice bath for 2 weeks and get ready for the All Ireland final. You know, and that's the reality of it. Like, but look, you mentioned Con. For me, this is the difference. If Con O'Callaghan plays last year, Kerry don't win the All Ireland, and that's the reality. That's how close. That's how the fine margins we're talking about. It's a bit like the Kerry folk that would say a couple of years ago, "Oh, if Clifford had stayed on against Tyrone, Tyrone wouldn't have won the All Ireland." Well, I'm telling you now, if Con O'Callaghan had stayed in the field against Kerry last year, Kerry wouldn't have won the All Ireland. And this is the difference between the last four. I said this to you: every one of the last four, or every one of the teams that are going to be in the last four or contesting All Ireland title, will have that superstar marquee forward. Your Con, your Clifford, your McGuigan. Unfortunately for Monaghan, maybe possibly now their superstar is maybe, you know, owes the county absolutely nothing, has been in the road for a long time, and maybe just doesn't have the legs for 70 minutes of, you know, a John Small hanging out of him, or a Mick Fitz, or whoever it happens to be at this.
Mick Fitz, yeah.
Probably be Mick Fitz, and that's the thing, Andy. You know, so I just feel that Con O'Callaghan, even Con O'Callaghan alone, is enough to make the difference in this game. He's been hugely influential for Dublin this season, hugely influential. You know, they missed his influence last year, and I couldn't believe how influential he was until a friend of mine in Dublin said to me, "Look, just watch the influence he has in tight games." And when they played Derry in that Division 2 final, he was awesome. His ability to win ball, his ability to distract inside, you know, his movement, his power, his pace. Lad's got everything, and he's still only a young boy. You know, he's still only in his early 20s with another, you know, 8, 9, 10 years of football ahead of him. So, but look, and then those around him in the support act, you know, your Pascals, your Costellos, your Mannion, they're not bad support acts, let me tell you. They're not bad support acts, you know.
Yeah,
so
It's last question. Do you think Monaghan do you think they'll bring anything different to that? Like, are they going to set up the usual way?
I think the only way that they can, they need to make it attritional. They need to make this game really, really freaking attritional. You know, the big results they've had this year, you know, that they've the likes of Derry in the group stages in Celtic Park. It was a brilliant performance from Monaghan. Tactically, it was superb. Vinnie Corey, I thought Vinnie Corey that night got things spot on. Their matchups are just critical. You know, they're going to have to nail their matchups, get the right personnel on Dublin's key men, and then on top of that, obviously game manage. When they have the leather, don't give it away. Mind the ball. You know, have your periods of possession where you're growing into the game just as much as you know, you're keeping Dublin out of it. Exactly. And then when you get your chances, you have to nail them. And if the man's on the field, any free kicks, you know, you're hoping that he is one of those days where just everything goes over. And that's what they have to do to win. You know, they might need, I think I read a statistic today that to beat Dublin, you're going to need to score a couple of goals. Yeah, that's the was against Dublin. You know, the last time Dublin were beaten, the last time the 6 in a row team were beaten before they won the 6 in a row was Donegal, and ironically Donegal scored 3 goals that day. So to beat this Dublin team, you're probably going to need a goal or two, and I don't know if Monaghan have 2 goals in them.
Right, are you going right score or
Dublin by 6 or 7?
I'm gonna go really bad. I'm gonna go Dublin by 10 or 11. I know I'm a prick. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I really do.
Hold on, you can't go. Yeah, you're not allowed to go on your holidays now to Killarney or Castlebrenny.
I really hope. I've seen this movie too many times. I hope I'm fucking wrong. I really do. Jesus.